Hello and welcome to Tournament in a Teabreak. It's the first tournament in a Teabreak from Roland Garros, so maybe we should be like kind of bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
It's definitely bonsoir. It's very much bonsoir here tonight. It's this weird half-assed day that they do where you've got 16 matches of each draw on a Sunday. It throws your body clock out because now I'll forever be a day out in time, and it takes 3 days for the first round to be done. And we have all kinds of stuff happening, including the women's defending champion bouncing out.
Bowing out early, yeah. It's an interesting kind of stretch having the first round over 3 days. It gives the people who won today, the favorites, 2.5 days to kind of almost 3 days until they start their next round. And for the ones who lose early, especially to have the women's defending champion out before what feels like the tournament starts. To me, the tournament does not. It starts today, but then it also doesn't. So it's a tricky one, and I think it's a shame to see Jelena Ostapenko go out early. But she was very honest in her press conference afterwards. Was very much admitting, look, I did not feel like myself out there today. I felt like I played 20% of what I could play. Had some injury issues before today's match, and very tough start for her. Very tough experience, but I think one she'll probably learn from. And she's not the first defending champion to return to a Grand Slam and have a very tough time.
No, and I mean, if you're wondering who's talking, by the way, it's Rene Denfeld, who's here for
my tennis.
Tennis but the reason that's interesting that you say it is just give us a little bit of insight as to what happened to her in Rome.
In Rome, Ostapenko did a splits in her match against Sharapova, and she injured her leg, and that injury prevented her from training when she got back to Latvia. Didn't have only started hitting again a few days ago, so I presume by my calculation that would be maybe Wednesday or Thursday. And that made life a lot more difficult for her in terms of preparing for this, which was always going to be tricky anyways. And it made it tough for her.
I mean, I think we're all in agreement that she's grown a lot in a short space of time. I mean, the way that she came in today, we've seen her sort of sulky and petulant before, and today, the first thing that she said was it's a very bad day at the office, but she also said it actually wouldn't have made any difference who was on the other side of the court. Her own mistakes and errors were just simply not good enough, and that I don't think is actually disrespectful. I think that's actually basically saying, you know what, I played like crap today.
Yes. And she had in total 48 unforced errors. 13 of those were double faults, 35 were off the ground, forehand, backhand unforced errors, and 48 errors over a stretch of 12 games first set, 9 over 21 games. That's a lot. That's over 2 errors on average per game almost. And this is a very it was a very bad day, and I completely agree in terms of Ostapenko, how she handled the entire situation and how she especially afterwards in press, I thought it made the difference between this Jelena Ostapenko in today's press conference when she had lost, as opposed to the Jelena Ostapenko that we saw last year in press here with very short answers, never giving anything. And today she said it as she saw it, and she was being completely honest about it, and that was I thought that showed an immense amount of growth that she's experienced over the past 12 months, even if today's result didn't go her way.
What you're hearing, by the way, if you're wondering, is the tannoy that's going on, that's basically telling any people that are left in the ground to go.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible. It's like, I think we're going to have a countdown every minute, so do bear with us. Okay, so let's go on to someone who did win in comparative ease, and there's a lot of eyes on him. Of course, Alexander Zverev opened his account today, looking for all the world like a giant ball boy. But pretty impressive. I mean, he rattled through Ricardo Sparankis without too much issue. I think he's probably going to do quite well in his early rounds, and then once he starts to meet a little bit of resistance, that's when we'll really see whether or not he's got what it takes to learn what the quarterfinal is like in a Grand Slam.
I think that has to be the goal. Of course, he I wouldn't say he downplayed it, but he downplayed the sort of his Grand Slam duck that people are talking about, never having beaten a top 50 player in a Grand Slam, never having never having made a quarterfinal in a Grand Slam so far. So he was basically saying in his pre-tournament press conference, like, I feel like you guys are actually more concerned about this than I am. I'm 21 and I still have got like quite a number of slams that I can play. I've played like 12 slams. Okay, maybe I've not always gone as far as I could have, but I'll get there eventually. And yeah, today he looked like he had a very good time out there. Admittedly, he played someone in Barrancas who is not who's not a clay court, B has not played any clay court matches this year before this one, as far as if I'm not completely mistaken here. And in total almost won 38 to 81 points at the end. Speaks a very clear language, and it barely lasted much more than an hour.
While we're on the subject of people saying, hey, you guys make it tough for us, of course, British number one, Johanna Konta, was in action today. The first 6 games or so were pretty competitive. There weren't any break points. I was watching Jo's feet. She was moving really well. Then a couple of shaky service games, and it really just unravelled awfully quickly. Now, I asked her, is that how it felt? And she was much like Ostapenko in that it was a really bad match. I couldn't get into my rhythm. I couldn't get any traction on the ball. I couldn't really keep up with what Putintseva was doing. It was awful. It was a bad match. But then things took a little bit of a turn. And I have to say my favourite kind of Johanna Konta is the one that's got a little bit of fire in the belly and really just lets rip. And we lose that facade of everything's a process and I'm just really happy with the positivity and blah, 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 blah. And we actually got a real visceral response. Unfortunately, it was this poor guy that I've only ever seen here. And he only fronts up here and then we never see him again for the rest of the circuit. And he basically got both barrels because she was like, okay, riddle me this, children. What would it be like if you went to Roland Garros and suddenly everything that you wrote was dreadful and then everybody started telling you that everything was dreadful? I think we actually got to see a bit of the real Jo Konta. But there's no doubt that this was very frustrating. And also that the pressure, if you think the pressure is bad here in France across the channel, wait until we get back to Blighty and we have to do this on the grass. I really hope we see more of that fiery Jo because I think that will help fire her up. But yeah, it was a bit of a both barrels for that poor sap, I have to say.
I think it's like I'm not even sure if the visceral reaction is the real Jo, to be honest. But she's a smart woman. She's eloquent. She's smart. She knows what's going on, and she knew coming in here that like this is not my home turf in terms of surfers or anything that's going on. And if you then end up drawing someone like Putintseva, who is very, very much who plays the disruptor card very well, both in terms of her tennis, in terms of her personality, in terms of her on court, everything that goes on with her on court. Let's put it this way, and that makes life very difficult. And I thought it was going to go 3 sets at the very least. I thought it was going to be a tough one. I thought that Konta had a shot at making the 3rd round, but I never thought that she was going to make it much further than the 3rd round. And I'm not sure if she thought that she was going to be able to. It's a tough loss for her, obviously. But
this one hurt.
Yes.
I think the other matches that she played, I think she felt that she'd given a good account of herself at the level of play that she is. But one interesting thing that she said is that there is going to be a lot more doubles. We know that she needs to work a lot more on volleys. And she has. Her volleys at the net, she had some deft touches at the net from time to time. But she'll be here doing doubles with Alison Risk. And I think she's pretty much admitted that she needs a lot more match play. So hopefully she'll get that. On the list of lucky escapes, Svitolina's wasn't quite as dramatic as Goffin's. Elina Svitolina found herself 1-4 down and was really all over the place this morning on the first match.
1-5, I think, even 1-5.
Was it 1-5?
1-5, and then she rattled off 6 games in a row. Looked a bit all over the shop, and I think she said very much the same. So like it was a mix of things. But she didn't really want to look at it too much at the bat. She was like, okay, I regrouped really well, and then I won 12 of the last 15 games, I believe.
Yeah.
A good win for her, I think. Also, in terms of like looking at who came in with some traction. I think it's good for the women's draw that she got through that. It would have been tough to lose both her and Ostapenko in that quarter.
Yeah.
That would have blown things wide open, and I'm quite keen on Svitolina making a very deep run here. Actually,
I picked
her to win the title, which I'm still not sure. There are like 12 people that I could name to win the title here on the women's side. But good escape from her, and she's got a few days now until Wednesday, until her second round. And she joked that, well, it's actually so much time she could fly back home and come back here, and it would still not be stressful at all. So escape in the first set for Svitolina, but after that, I thought convincing.
Whereas Goffin, again, another one that's probably tipped to certainly go deep into the second week, found himself 2 sets down against Robin Haase. Won the third set, and then a very strange turn of events where Haase decided that he wanted to call the physio. It was getting darker, it has to be said. The physio came out and basically said, there's nothing wrong with you, so I can't treat you, and walked off. And then Haase promptly lost the last set, 6-love.
In a whopping 18 or 17 minutes, I believe. So,
what do we think about that?
I think that Robin Haase saw the 2-love lead and saw the fading light and thought, if I get if I get a break now, and if I have to show up tomorrow and win 1 of 3 sets, that is very likely. And I think his head or his brain started deserting him. I hope he doesn't take this the wrong way if he ever listens. But I think things just short circuited in a way, and it just he started arguing or talking to the umpire about the light situation from the third set onwards, and then he called the physio, and things unraveled in rather unspectacular fashion.
I think when players actually start to get to that stage where they're like concentrating on the light, I think you know that you're fighting a losing battle then, because in their mind they've already made up their mind. I don't want to be out here any longer. But anyway, are we surprised that Venus went out today?
Not really. I'm she played one last year in the first round here. She played her 2 times already at slams. Both times it was close. And I did not have Venus make a deep run here. I thought if she was going to make it past today's hurdle, or past the first round match, I had her losing to Petra Martic in the second round.
Yeah.
Not surprised. That's not because I feel about Venus one way or another, but just because there has not been any traction with her on clay in Madrid or in Rome, and she didn't come in with any matches. I know the rules are a bit different when it comes to both Williams sisters and coming in maybe without a lot of matches, but I just didn't feel that Venus been playing great tennis over the past month here in Europe on the red clay, and today of course Wang played really well, but I felt Venus was just not sharp enough.
So tomorrow, of course, we've hinted at this, that it feels like the day starts proper. What's your pick of the matches?
I think if you say dramatics, Your Honor, I think going for the second match on Suzanne Langlaine between Andrea Petkovic and Kristina Mladenovic, this could be a roller coaster. And just a little later on court 1, you've got Laura Siegemund against Coco Vandeweghe, where you have 2 fairly emotional and demonstrative players who feel about clay very differently, but have a very bizarre lopsided head-to-head, where the player who hates clay is up 3-love against the player who loves clay. So these 2 would be my picks for tomorrow. And
lights are just going off around us.
Lights are going on and off. And on the men's side, I think, maybe I'm playing the German Cup, but I actually think it will be a good match. It's Coric against Kohlschreiber.
Okay, for me, my pick is Kvitova. I really want to see how she plays, especially after Madrid. And obviously, if you've got a ticket for Chatrier, you're going to be in heaven, because you've got Petra, Djokovic, Wozniacki, and Nadal. I want to see how Djokovic is playing. And as a side note, I was checking the polls this morning, and I had to laugh out loud because, you naughty people, none of you seem to think that Caroline Wozniacki is even going to come remotely close to winning the title. So yeah, let us know if you think that the rest of the readership have got that wrong. But either way,
pay close attention to Court 9 tomorrow morning, and we will find out at about 10 a.m. who Bernard Tomic is going to play at 11 a.m. At the moment, Mr. Tronjaliti is driving up from Barcelona to Paris with his brother, his mother, and his grandma in the car, and he'll arrive here and he's going to sign in tomorrow morning in order to play Bernard Tomic, who qualified himself.
Why couldn't they fly?
Maybe it was all a bit short. Maybe they wanted a road trip. No, maybe it was all a bit short notice. It's a whole story. I think it's one of the stories that will stick around after this tournament.
If he actually gets it.
Well, I hope. Look, I hope that there will be a qualifier and Bernard Tomic won't get a walkover. That would be rather unfortunate for this, because it would also be a very bad look for this entire new lucky loser rule. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're on our 9th lucky loser is quite grim. We're getting there. Well, yes. I think we've probably rambled at you far enough, but we will be back tomorrow. It'll be a very full day, so expect a slightly longer tournament in Teabreak. You have, of course, been listening to Ros Satar from Britwatch Sports. And Rene Denfeld of My Tennis. Thank you for listening.